Hello everyone, and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Gossips 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Eric Forrester had erected an conglomerate on fidelity, family, and a belief that the Forrester name meant commodity further than just plutocrat and fashion. It meant honor. For decades, Forrester Creations had stood as a symbol of consanity. Indeed, when the family fought. Indeed, when marriages collapsed and secrets came out. But nothing, absolutely nothing, had prepared the Forresters for what was about to be when Eric made the most shocking decision of his life. He chose Katie Logan over his own blood. And in doing so, he cracked the foundation of the Forrester heritage. Started still the way most disasters do. A unrestricted door meeting. A rumored discussion. A many suspicious ganders changed in the hallway. No bone allowed. Much of it at first. Eric had always admired Katie. She was sharp, pious, and had proven herself further than formerly. But this wasn't about respect presently. This was about power. And Eric was handing it to her. In the main office at Forrester Creations, sun streamed through the altitudinous windows as Eric stood beside Katie, his hand resting on the reverse of her president like a protestation of constancy. Ridge walked in awaiting a routine update, but what he saw made his stomach drop. "What's this?" Ridge demanded, his voice sharp with unbelief. Eric didn't blench. "This is the future," he said calmly. "Katie will be overseeing the new creative and business strategy." The words hit Ridge like a punch to the casket. "Overseeing," he repeated. "You mean replacing us?" Brooke, who had followed Ridge into the room, goggled at Katie in shock. "Eric, you can't be serious," she said. "This is Forrester Creations. This is your family's company." Eric's eyes hardened. "It's my company," he corrected. "And I'm tired of watching it be torn piecemeal by pride, covetousness, and endless family wars." Katie shifted uncomfortably, but she didn't deny it. "I'm not then to destroy anything," she said vocally. "I'm then to fix what's broken." Ridge laughed plaintively. "You suppose we're broken? You suppose the Forresters need saving from a Logan?" The pressure in the room came suffocating. Eric raised his voice, commodity he infrequently did. "Enough, Ridge. I've watched this family sabotage itself for times. The constant power struggles, the backstabbings, the particular vendettas, it's destroying everything I erected." Brooke crossed her arms. "So your result is to hand the arm to Katie?" Eric jounced. "She sees this company easily, without emotional bias, without the need to win every argument." Ridge shook his head. "This isn't about clarity. This is about control. And you're giving it down." Word of Eric's decision spread through the structure like campfire. Workers rumored in the halls. Contrivers questioned their futures. Indeed, longtime staff members who had survived innumerous dishonors felt uneasy. This wasn't just another family fight. This was a shift in power that could change everything. In the design plant, Steffi brazened Katie directly. "You don't belong in that office," Steffi snapped. "That position is Forrester home." Katie met her aspect calmly. "Home doesn't mean power," she replied. "And leadership isn't inherited, it's earned." Steffi scarfed. "You suppose you've earned this?" "I know I have," Katie said forcefully. "I've defended this company when others were too busy guarding their pride." Steffi's jaw tensed. "You're dividing this family." Katie's voice softened. "This family was formerly divided. I'm just not pretending presently." Meanwhile, Ridge stormed into Eric's office, unfit to contain his wrathfulness. "You're making a mistake," he said. "This company is our heritage." Eric leaned back in his president. "A heritage that's being suffocated by dissension. So you discipline us by replacing us?" Ridge shot back. "This isn't discipline," Eric replied. "It's responsibility." The word soaked further than any personality. Ridge had always believed his passion justified his conduct, but now his own father was calling him out. Across city, Bill Spencer watched the drama unfold with interest. "Katie always had further strength than people gave her credit for," he murmured. But indeed he wondered how far this alliance would go, and what it would bring. Back at Forrester, Brooke possessed Eric in the hallway. "You're hurting your children," she said. "This isn't just business, it's particular." Eric suffed. Everything is particular when it comes to this family. But that doesn't mean we keep repeating the same miscalculations. Brooke's eyes filled with emotion. Katie doesn't earn to be caught in the middle of this. Eric looked toward the office where Katie was working late. She chose this. And so did I. The pressure mounted when the board meeting was blazoned. Katie would present a bold new restructuring plan. One that reduced family control and expanded outside influence. When Rich heard the details, he lost it. She's dismembering Forrester from the inside, he said to Steffi. This is a hostile preemption with a friendly face. The meeting room was packed. Every seat was filled. Eric sat at the head of the table, Katie beside him, her donation glowing on the screen behind them. Forrester Creations has reckoned too heavily on internal politics, Katie began. My offer focuses on translucency, invention, and long-term stability. Ridge intruded. Restatement lower Forrester, further Logan. Gasps gurgled through the room. Katie didn't blench. This isn't about names. It's about results. Eric jounced. I support this plan. The words echoed like a death judgment for the old Forrester order. Steffi stood up. You're erasing our identity. Eric responded calmly. I'm guarding it. By handing it to someone who isn't a Forrester? Steffi demanded. By handing it to someone who cares about the future, not just the history, Eric replied. After the meeting, chaos erupted. Ridge indicted Eric of treason. Brooke indicted Katie of ambition disguised as fidelity. Steffi indicted everyone of destroying the family. Katie, for the first time, showed cracks in her confidence. I no way wanted to hurt anyone, she told Eric intimately. Change always hurts, Eric said. But recession destroys. Yet the damage was inarguable. The Forresters felt replaced, sidelined, stripped of their power. The Logan name now carried influence where it formerly carried only pressure. And Forrester Creations, formerly united under one family, now stood on a fault line of resentment and contest. Ridge pledged to fight back. This company is in my blood, he said. And I won't let it be taken from me. Steffi began planning her own countermove, determined to restore Forrester dominance. Brooke set up herself torn between fidelity to her family and her family. And Katie? She stood in the middle of the storm, holding the future of the company in her hands, knowing that every decision she made would either save Forrester Creations or shatter it beyond form. Eric had made his choice. The question now was whether the heritage he erected would survive it. The pressure inside Forrester Creations didn't fade after the board meeting. It boosted. What Eric had started with one bold decision had now come a full-blown civil war inside his own family. The halls of the iconic fashion house felt colder, quieter, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. Contrivers rumored. Sidekicks avoided eye contact. Longtime workers who had seen decades of Forrester drama admitted they had no way felt a peak this deep. This wasn't just another family disagreement. This was about identity, heritage, and who truly merited to carry the Forrester name forward. Rich couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Katie sitting in that president beside Eric, the seat that had always represented Forrester authority. The Logan name didn't belong there, not to him. He paced his living room late into the night, replaying every word his father had said. Responsibility. The word burned. Ridge had devoted his life to that company. He'd offered connections, marriages, indeed his own happiness for Forrester Creations. And now Eric was acting like none of that signified. The coming morning, Ridge marched into the structure with a charge. He wasn't going to supplicate. He wasn't going to maintain. He was going to fight. Steffi was formerly in the design office when he arrived, flipping through sketches that suddenly felt pointless. He's serious, she said without looking up. Dad isn't backing down. Ridge gripped his jaw. Also we do'n't moreover. Steffi eventually looked at him. You're talking about war. I'm talking about survival, Ridge replied. Across the hall, Katie was settling into her new part, girdled by reports, contracts, and strategic proffers. For the first time in her life, she wasn't just supporting the vision, she was the vision. But confidence didn't abolish the weight she felt in her casket. Every Forrester light reminded her that she was seen as a stranger, no matter how important she watched about the company. She eavesdropped whispers as she walked by, words like snake, usurper, Logan, preemption. Still, she kept her head grandly. Eric noticed the strain. "You're doing the right thing," he told her gently. "They'll understand ultimately." Katie jounced, though she wasn't sure she believed it presently. "I just hope the company survives long enough for them to see it." But Ridge wasn't staying for understanding. He went straight to the board members who had remained pious to the Forrester name. "This isn't about business," he told them. "It's about guarding what Eric erected from being disassembled." Some jounced in agreement. Others looked uncertain. Change was parlous, but so was rebellion. Meanwhile, Brooke was caught in the middle, torn between her family and the man she loved. She brazened Katie intimately. "You're hurting them," Brooke said vocally. "Ridge, Steffi, the whole family, they feel cancelled." Katie's voice quivered. "I know I wanted that. I just wanted to help." "Occasionally helping looks like treason," Brooke replied. The words soaked because they were true. As days passed, Eric's alliance with Katie came stronger, more public. He began banning Ridge and Steffi from crucial opinions. Contracts were inked. New directors were hired. Forrester Creations was evolving and the Forresters were losing control. Steffi exploded during a design meeting. "You're sidelining us," she indicted. "You're turning our own company into commodity we do and fate." Eric didn't raise his voice. "You're confusing change with destruction," he said calmly. "This company needs to grow beyond family politics." "We're the company," Steffi shot back. Ridge watched quietly, his wrathfulness stewing beneath the face. He realized commodity in that moment. Eric wasn't just choosing Katie. He was choosing a future that didn't revolve around his children. That consummation hurt more than any argument ever could. Outside the company, rumors began to spread. Fashion interposers rumored about a possible Forrester civil war. Investors grew nervous. Challengers watched nearly, staying for the conglomerate to crack. Indeed, Bill Spencer raised an eyebrow. "When the Forresters fight," he said, "the whole assiduity feels it." Katie tried to stay focused on her vision. She introduced new creative collaborations, expanded transnational hookups, and pushed for translucency in decision timber. On paper it was brilliant, but emotionally the cost was ruinous. One autumn, Ridge brazened her in the main office. "You've taken everything from us," he said coldly. Katie met his aspect. "I didn't take anything. Eric gave it to me." "Because you induced him, we were the problem," Ridge replied. Katie's voice broke. "You were destroying each other long before I ever stepped in." The silence between them was heavy with times of resentment, fidelity, and heartache. Eric watched the fallout from his office window. He knew his decision had fractured his family, but he also believed it was necessary. "Heritage isn't about blood," he said still to himself. "It's about vision." Yet indeed he couldn't ignore the pain in Ridge's eyes, the fury in Steffi's voice, the heartache in Brooke's silence. As the weeks passed, Ridge began forming a plan. He wasn't going to attack Eric directly, he was going to outthink Katie. However, he'd reshape the power structure itself if she wanted to reshape Forrester Creations. Steffi was on board incontinently. "We'll remind everyone why the Forrester name still matters," she said. Behind the scenes, alliances shifted. Old commitment resurfaced. The formerly unbreakable Forrester consanity had splintered into contending fancies of the future. And at the center of it all stood Katie Logan, strong, determined, and decreasingly insulated. She had no way wanted to destroy the Forrester heritage. But now, whether she liked it or not, she was reshaping it. And the battle for Forrester Creations was far from over. The power struggle at Forrester Creations was no longer just a private family issue, it had become a public spectacle. Fashion interposers, investors, and rival companies all tasted the shift. What had formerly been a united front was now a shattered conglomerate, and everyone wanted to know who would crop in control. Eric's alliance with Katie Logan had shaken the foundation of the Forrester heritage, but the real consequences were only beginning to unfold. Ridge arrived at the office beforehand one morning, his expression hardened by insomniac nights and undetermined wrathfulness. The structure that formerly felt like home now felt like adversary home. Every hallway reminded him of what he was losing: authority, influence, and the sense that he was the due heir at law to his father's conglomerate. Steffi met him in the design room, Her arms crossed tightly. They're publicizing another leadership shift moment, she said. Ridge's jaw gripped. Let me guess, further power for Katie? Steffi jounced. Eric's moving forward without us. That was the moment Ridge realized commodity important. His father wasn't just choosing a different path. He was designedly cutting his children out of the future. Across the structure, Katie prepared for the advertisement with a calm surface that masked her growing anxiety. She believed in her vision, but the counter-reaction was heavier than she'd ever anticipated. Every step forward felt like two-way deeper into conflict. Still, she refused to back down. However, it demanded elaboration. Indeed, if that elaboration came with pain, if Forrester Creations was going to survive. Eric stood beside her, unwavering in his support. You're stronger than they suppose, he told her. And stronger than you realize. Katie managed a small smile. I just hope it's enough. The advertisement transferred shockwaves through the company. Ridge and Steffi were officially removed from several major decision-making places, replaced by a new administrative platoon chosen by Eric and Katie. The communication was clear. The old Forrester power structure was over. Steffi stormed into Eric's office moments laterally. You're dismembering this family, she cried. Eric remained calm. I'm guarding this company. By pushing us out? Steffi snapped. By pushing you to grow, Eric replied. You're confusing tradition with annuity. Ridge followed, his voice cold, wave and controlled. You do'n't trust us presently. Eric looked at his son with visible sadness. I trust you. I just do'n't trust the chaos that follows you. Those words cut deeper than any argument ever had. Meanwhile, Brooke set up herself trapped between fidelity and blood. She brazened Katie again, her voice filled with concern. You're winning the company, but you're losing the family, Brooke said. Katie's eyes glistered. I no way wanted to win against them. I wanted to win for all of us. But Ridge and Steffi were done trying to understand. They were preparing to fight. Behind unrestricted doors, Ridge began reconnecting with old abettors, former board members, longtime contrivers, indeed investors who still believed in the Forrester name. This isn't about vengeance, he told them. It's about restoring balance. Steffi took a more aggressive approach. Katie Logan doesn't belong in that office, she declared. And we're going to make sure she doesn't stay there. Rumors began circulating of a possible countermove, a restructuring that could shift control back to the Forresters. The pressure inside the structure came unsupportable. Katie felt it in every meeting, every hallway regard, every rumored discussion. She was no longer just a leader, she was a target. One autumn, Ridge brazened her again, this time with no restraint. You suppose this is leadership? He asked sprucely. You're tearing piecemeal decades of history. Katie didn't back down. History should entrap the future. The standoff between them represented the larger war, tradition versus change, birth versus vision. Eric watched it all unfold with a heavy heart. He'd known this path would be painful, but he hadn't anticipated how deeply it would wound his children. Still, he refused to retreat. However, he said still, it won't be because of Katie. If this company collapses, it'll be because of resistance to growth. Outside Forrester Creations, the fashion world buzzed with enterprise. Bill Spencer, ever the bystander, scowled. The Forresters are eating their own, he said. And Katie Logan is holding the chopstick. But indeed, Bill knew this battle wasn't just about business. It was particular, emotional, and deeply embedded in family identity. As weeks passed, the pressure boosted. Ridge and Steffi's counter-strategy gained instigation. Investors began questioning Eric's opinions. Workers started choosing sides. The company felt less like a plant and more like a battleground. Katie plotted intimately. Late nights in her office were filled with tone mistrustfulness. Am I really helping? She rumored to herself. Eric's words echoed in her mind. Change always feels like destruction to those who sweat it. Also came the breaking point. At a major company-wide event, Katie unveiled her boldest plan yet. An expansion strategy that would bring in outside creative leadership, farther reducing the Forresters' control. Gasps filled the room. Steffi stood up. You're erasing us. Katie's voice was steady. I'm making sure this company survives. Ridge joined her. Without us. Eric stepped forward. With you if you're willing to evolve. Silence followed. The family goggled at one another, the weight of decades of history hanging in the air. For the first time, Ridge saw that this wasn't just about Katie. It was about Eric's fear of the company getting trapped in the history. But understanding didn't abolish resentment. After the event, Ridge made a bold decision, however. He told Steffi, "We'll make commodities stronger if we can't lead Forrester Creations." The idea of a rival fashion house, one embedded in Forrester tradition, began to take shape. And just like that, the war escalated from internal conflict to full-scale competition. Katie tasted it. "They're planning commodity," she told Eric. Eric jounced. "Also, we'll be ready." But readiness didn't ease the emotional risk. Brooke prayed Ridge to review. "This is your family," she contended. Ridge's voice was firm. "Family doesn't abolish treason." The Forrester heritage was no longer just being challenged, it was being rewritten. And everyone involved knew one thing for certain: nothing would ever be the same again.